Hello everyone and welcome back to the MyFootballWriter YouTube channel or the MyFootballWriter Spotify channel, whatever you're choosing to listen or watch the newest episode of the MyFootballWriter podcast. It's episode 13. Apologies for that dog barking in the background. I am at a family getaway south of the Norfolk-Suffolk border. But anyway, if that happens, just please ignore it. You know, he's just raving that we beat Coventry just as much as us four are, as Jack dances away in the bottom left corner. But anyway, first things first, as you always should do with your pals whenever you see them and whatnot. How are we all doing? How's everyone been? Of course, Will, I saw you yesterday afternoon. We were full of praise, but how have you been since that? And then Jack and Henry, it's been a while. Well, Jack, I saw you on Tuesday at Selhurst. Henry, I haven't seen you since last week. But how have all three of you been over the last 7 days, really?
Yeah, so for me, it's been really busy. It's been non-stop. I've been basically working every single day, and managed to go on to the gantry for the Norwich Ipswich derby at Carrow Road. I was with the team from BBC Radio Norfolk, and it was really fascinating just to see how beautiful the view was from the gantry, but also just to be up there whilst the game's going on. You see so much more than what you would do in the stands. It's truly brilliant, and if you ever get an opportunity to go up there, you need to take it with open arms. But for the game itself, to be honest, there was only really ever one side in it. Ipswich did dominate. Ipswich got the 4-0 win in the end, but it's not the end of the road for Norwich in the Cup. So basically how it works is step 3 and step 4 sides in the Women's National League have a League Cup every season and a play competition. So this was the determining round. So whoever won went into the League Cup and whoever lost went into this plate trophy. Now, Andy Cook, the Norwich manager, has won the Women's National League plate before. So that's where Norwich will be, and Norwich stand a very good chance of winning that competition. So hopefully that's the silver lining and we can kick on from there. But Ipswich did show their golfing class. I don't think Norwich played that great. They did quite well for 60 minutes to keep the score at 0-0. They did defend well, but sort of going forward, they just didn't really offer much. But something that does stick with me from the game is the minute the full-time whistle blew, it was only the south stand that was open, and all the supporters piled forward and effectively wouldn't let the girls go back into the training room because they wanted photos, they wanted autographs. And literally everyone was on the pitch for there must have been at least half an hour after the full-time whistle. So bear in mind, that's after a 4-0 defeat as well. That sort of community spirit and that love for your team really shines through in women's football. And that's what makes it so special. And that is what ultimately makes Norwich so special as a football club, that you've got scenes like that after a 4-0 defeat. So that will stick with me for a long time, I reckon. And then on Friday, again working, went for a lovely curry, which was always nice, at the Merchant of Spice. So other curry shop houses are available, but that one was exquisite. And then yesterday I was just working the normal Radio Norfolk coverage, and that was really good. Had a really good Canary Call, really good game. Over the moon that we've got 3 points and we head into the international break with that first win under our belt. So I can be better. And I bagged Oasis tickets. So life's going good at the minute.
That was actually on the agenda we usually do before this. That was actually the second point I put on. Did anyone actually get Oasis tickets? Henry did. I didn't. Brilliant. I can't imagine. Did anyone else bag them at all, or was that just?
I didn't even try, mate.
All right, fair enough.
Who are Oasis? Never heard of them.
That's a summer drink, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hey?
It's a summer drink, isn't it? Oasis.
Oh yeah, you get it with a meal deal. Oh yeah, true. Yeah. No, not for me. Not for me.
No, fair enough. Well, yeah. But no, very good to hear, Henry. Hopefully, well, I believe the women's team should be playing today, with it being a Sunday as well. I should really probably look a bit more as to who they're actually playing, so that I can sort of add that little bit of insight and shine a light on the women's team. But Henry, I'm sure that they are playing any. Well, you can wipe the floor with this. Really, this is your speciality.
Yeah, so they are playing today. And you've got to bear in mind as well, I've literally just been working so much this week, so I've not actually been able to get a written review out for the Ipswich game. So come tomorrow, what I'm going to do is just a week review in the life of Norwich City women and talk about Thursday night's game and today's game. Today we're at home, back at the Nest. We played London Seaward, who are all right. I think they finished lower mid-table. They were fairly towards the bottom last season, so there shouldn't be any issues. The thing is with Norwich, it could go either one of two ways. After that humbling defeat, they could go, right, we're back at home, back in a league where we should dominate, pull our socks up and let's go for this. Or they could have a slight hangover from the Ipswich game. I think it will be the former. I don't think Andy Cook will let the standards of the squad slip just after one game against a team who, to be honest, they should have lost to and they did lose to. So, I think anyone heading to the Nest today can expect to win. I think they will get a win and they'll get back to winning ways, definitely. So, make sure you stay tuned to the MyFootballWriter website for that week-long review. Like I said, that should be dropping hopefully either later tomorrow or on Tuesday morning.
Henry, can I ask you a question, mate, about the women's team? Is the levels like quite stark in terms of Norwich right now and the league above, or is it still quite similar? And Norwich probably should have been doing better. Like, what's kind of like difficulty of the high levels, or like what's it kind of like in terms of that?
I think it depends, because I think everyone recently who's gone from step 4, where we are, into step 3 has then built. We've seen it with #United. I think they're either in the Women's Championship or they're very close to getting into the Women's Championship. We've seen it with Ipswich as well. They're a very strong step 3 side. And as well this season with AFC Wimbledon. They, of course, won our league last season. The only side who finished above Norwich in the Division 1 South East. And they've got the foundations there to really kick on and really make a good go of the third tier. So, yeah, I think the golfing class won't be that jarring if Norwich do go up. And it as well, the reason why I say that is because of all the changes off field. So obviously Norwich women aren't paid, and it's like completely amateur at the minute for the girls. But our head coach, that is a full-time position. So maybe that will be something that Flo Allen looks to expand if and when promotion does come, because like I said, we're the favourites, and to deliver promotion was like the number one thing on the job description before we appointed Andy Cook. So I'll be honest, I think if we go up, we won't get relegated. I think we will make a really good go of the third tier. But look, there's so much left of the season to play. We can't get carried away. I was guilty of doing that last season. Ultimately, although we lost one game, we did fall short. So we've still got a job in hand. We have to do that job. But I think with everything going on behind the scenes, with how Flo's running it, Andy Cook and his pedigree, and the fact that there's already a view to potentially go in semi-professional or professional, I think it's, I think the foundations are there for a strong future for Norwich City women.
Superb.
No, great to hear. No, that's absolutely fantastic. No, hopefully they can get the win today against London Seaward and then crack on and keep going on their incredible run that they had, including last season, where didn't lose until the very last game of the season. So hopefully that can be more of the same going forward for the women's team. But we've got to now crack on with the men's team, who are probably, as usual, we're going to take a large chunk of the podcast. But 2 games to talk about, and albeit they were contrasting scorelines, they both were arguably just as good in performance as another. Norwich were dumped out of the Carabao Cup by Crystal Palace on Tuesday night. Myself and Jack were actually at that game, and if anything, a 4-0 scoreline, flattered Crystal Palace. I think that, of course, they were good because they put their first team out against Norwich's B team, and then you end up with Coventry. That was just perfect. I mean, I titled the live stream "Perfect Away Performance" because that's what I made of it, having watched it. I think that Norwich was just absolutely phenomenal, just in possession, out of possession. Just everyone, apart from arguably Forson and Sienats, were just they were at least 7 out of 10 in terms of performance. They were just all absolutely superb. And Norwich finally get an away win, first time since April, only the 7th away win in 25 attempts in the Championship. But just everyone thoughts on it, because I mean we could probably rave about this for the whole international break, it seems, but Norwich finally look as if under Johannes Ofttorp, you're seeing clearly what they're going to look like in his tenure and what sort of football they're going to play. And if they can do it like that every week and maybe just create a few more chances, is there any reason why this team couldn't be up there challenging with some of the league's best, you could argue?
Yeah, I think the Palace game was another example of Norwich having a very good spell for 30 minutes and not capitalising on that. Obviously, we spoke in length yesterday, Freddie, that during Norwich's period when they were on top yesterday, in the start of the second half, they capitalised, and that was very, very important. I think the way actually how we've been so productive defensively as well, like not considering an XG under 1 yet this season apart from the Palace game. I think that's pretty good going, especially at this level as well. So I think there is so much signs of optimism, albeit there was some questionable goalkeeping against Palace. That doesn't help, does it, whatsoever? But yeah, look, I go into this international break with a lot of hope that we can really start to build a run. As I said yesterday as well, I think it might come at the wrong time, because for me, I think momentum is so big in football, and especially at this level as well. So annoyingly, it's come now, but look, I'm really excited to see what we get after the international break, really.
Yeah, I'm the same, to be honest. I think from what I've seen, there was only one side in the contest, and that was Norwich, really. I know Coventry did have a good, like a couple of good chances. I know Hadji Wright went close, but our defensive play was brilliant. You had Shane Duffy, who's, yes, he got a lot of criticism after that Blackburn game, but I think every game he's played since, he's looked quality, to be fair. So so he's definitely improving. Callum Doyle, how he's still playing at this level is baffling, to be honest. He deserved to get that Premier League move, especially after playing a role in getting Leicester back to the Premier League. So yeah, a lot of stuff there to be confident of. And also Anis Ben Slimani, from all accounts, had a really good game and looked really solid when he came on. So again, we know for such a long while that we've needed more physicality in that midfield, and that's exactly what he brings. So I think that looks a really good signing. Schwartau looks good on the eye as well. So yeah, a lot of reasons to be positive for Norwich. I'm not getting carried away because we've beaten Coventry away. Yes, it's a really good result, but you know, like I said about the women's team, it's early days yet. So but for now, we have to take what's in front of us, and that was a brilliant win. So so yeah, fair play to Norwich.
I'm getting carried away. We're going to piss the lot. I'm kidding, of course. It's an important first win. I think we really just needed that first dub under the belt. And I think, Will, you were always very skittish and scared of the 2 Sheffield United and Coventry games back to back. That's 4 points out of a possible 6. You can pipe down. I watched the game, and my overriding thought was Coventry were rubbish. Call me, controversial, and arguably, I might be completely misreading this, but they had so many chances that they fluffed, crossing opportunity that they just sort of floated. I didn't really feel that worried against them. They really just looked off the boil. Not to say that we were fantastic. Obviously, we scored from a deflected cross come deflected shot. But, goals win games, innit? But yeah, no, I mean, against a team that everyone thought would finish in the playoffs and would be a really tough contest away from home, considering how abysmal we are away from home. Especially away from home in London, especially away from home at Selhurst Park. If you'd have told me that we would rock up at the, what do they call it now? The CBS Rico
Coventry Building Society.
I don't care, the Coventry one. If we turned up there and played like a Rolls Royce and played them off the park and got a pretty comfortable win after seeing George Long basically spend the whole game flopping around in goal, I'd have been quite surprised. Just a word on the Palace game. I'll go back to it because obviously it was a result that was far worse than the performance. It was a cup. It didn't really matter. I have to say the atmosphere was probably one of the best atmospheres that I've experienced in a long time. I'm sure, Freddie, you can attest for that. There's a lot of controversy as to the we've got the ball, we've got the ball, we've lost the ball, we've lost the ball. I really like that chant. It was just quite funny. Like people like, oh, that's very negative, and I'm sure the players felt very sad. No, they didn't. They actually kept possession throughout most of that chant. So leave us alone. We were having a good time. We were being absolutely subjected to terrible football, and we deserve at least some happiness. So what is that now? That's a 1-0 loss, a 2-0 loss, a 3-0 loss, and a 4-0 loss in a row at Selhurst Park. Let's put that result to bed. If you want to hear more about the Crystal Palace result, I wrote about it on the MFW website. So read what I wrote and then forget about it, because it's all about the league now. And we're going to go into next weekend's game with lots of... Oh, it's the international break. Oh, well.
But it is actually frustrating, really. That's something I'd like to ask all three of you, with how the international break has now come at a time when Norwich have really looked as if they're starting to grind through the gears and they're learning this style of play, and it looks as if they're finally, it looks like they're getting the hang of it now. Is it frustrating, really, that now they've got a 2-week break and they aren't playing a game? But according to Johannes Torup, he's actually happy with that. He can have a bit more individual one-to-one training sessions with his players. But what do you all think about that? Because for me, I think it is quite frustrating at the fact that Norwich now aren't going to play for a while, when it looks as if they're really starting to look sharp and they're going through the gears and going through the motions in this play style. But what do all three of you think? What are your thoughts, really? Are you upset, really, that we aren't going to play for 2 weeks when it's starting to look good? Or maybe is it a nice way to end it off and we can have 2 weeks of players learning it more, and then we go into our next game and we absolutely destroy whoever we're playing?
I mean, I think the way that I look at it is, for me especially, I think yesterday we played at such a good level in terms of probably top-end championship, like the way we played yesterday, especially going to their ground as well. I just personally think if you're a player, you want to try and continue with that momentum. As I said earlier, momentum for me is so big at this league. Is actually quite undervalued, I actually think, as well. So definitely would love to have continued, but I think it's still fair to say that Norwich aren't the finished article yet either as well. So maybe some more training time is exactly what we need as a collective. But yeah, I just think when you're a really good moment. You want to try and carry that on, but unfortunately, that's football, isn't it? But what I will say is I'd much rather go into the international break with the first win on the board rather than not having the first win on the board, because I think when you go into September still without a win, I think that will just cause some more unrest with the fan base, and I think it would turn a few believers into doubters. But I feel like right now that the vibe around the club is actually really amazing. I think right now everyone feels united. I think the supporters are so grateful that they recognise change, and they're seeing change, which could really be a huge positive thing for the future, really. So I'm all for what we're trying to do right now. But yes, to answer your question, Freddie, it's come at the wrong time personally, because I'm a huge fan of momentum. But look, if we could just keep playing after the international break and better, then that's brilliant. Because I think after the international break, we've got Swansea, Watford, and Derby, and they, for me, are 3 teams that Norwich should be at least trying to get at least 2 wins in there at least. So that's my overall thoughts on that.
Yeah, I actually disagree. I think the international breaks come at the perfect time for Norwich, and it's because of what Will was saying. We've got that first win on the board. You know, if you look back, yes, we've had a loss against Oxford, but ever since that, we've improved week on week. To get a draw against Blackburn, that's better than a defeat. Then to get a draw against Sheffield United, who've just come down from the Premier League at home, is impressive. And then to now get the win against Coventry, a team who a lot of people are backing for top 6, and who themselves, other than last season really, have improved season on season for the last decade, is again also really impressive. So I think for Norwich, we have had a relatively good start to the season, but this international break is perfect because we've got that first win, so we don't have to worry about that lingering into the resumption of league football, so to speak. And also it allows a good opportunity for our new players to properly bed in. I know Amankwa Forson, he didn't look his best against Coventry. It's an extra 2 weeks for him now to recover properly and go again ready for the Swansea game. And it's also a good opportunity for players like Cade Gordon to get experience under their belt in training, and then hopefully be raring to go after that international break as well. So for a lot of our new signings and players coming back from injury, I think it's a good thing. The only thing we have to worry about is injuries on international duty, because they're the most frustrating things when the season is still ongoing, knowing that you know, if it's a key player like Angus Gunn, knowing that he gets injured whilst playing for Scotland rather than Norwich would probably be the most frustrating thing ever. So that's the only thing I'm concerned about. But in terms of the actual timing of this, I think it couldn't have come at a better time, to be honest.
If Angus Gunn gets injured, we get relegated. It's as simple as that. I'm not being overly dramatic or, you know, worrying too much, but if he gets injured for like even 2 weeks, no. If he gets injured for the season, we'll get relegated. That's for certain. I think I agree with what Henry said in terms of a lot of the new players need time to bed in. I think we can all agree that August was pretty chaotic, just generally. For Napa, for Torup, transfer requests, you know, players coming in and out, lots of young players coming in, a completely different shift in the style of play, a completely different shift in the transfer strategy. Yeah, I think just having 2 weeks, just to chill, just to calm down, I think, yeah, it comes at a good time, and I would much rather go into a pointless international break, not really sort of begging and wanting a win. I'd rather have it already there. And like Will said, obviously, actually no, Henry said it. I can't remember who said it. One of you said it, that we've only lost once in the league, and I'd much rather, we not have lots of losses and be really kind of worried at the wrong end of the table. You know, the momentum is going in the right way. Hopefully, if we could just put it on pause put it on pause just for like 2 weeks, and then we'll be back in Swansea, and we'll win 5-0. Don't clip it, please.
I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind it. So even if we won 1-0, I wouldn't mind it. As long as we win games, that's all I care about. But yeah, well, you said it. We only lost once in the league. We're technically 3 unbeaten. So we're on a bit of an unbeaten run. We're on the charge with our Torup's army, if you will. But oh no, not the bucket hat. Oh god. Oh no. Well, you know what? Talk Norwich City can have their sailors hats. We can have our bucket hats. You know, they let us, after we're done with this, Jack. Let me know where you got that, and then we'll all buy one. We'll get the bucket hats out whenever we start getting a bit carried away with ourselves. But going on to sort of where you touched on there, August was a really manic month for Norwich. There was transfer requests handed in pretty much everywhere. Young players weren't too happy with, well, they didn't want to play for the football club, really. There's no other way of putting it. In the end, Abu Kamara did finally get that move, went to Hull for £4.5 million. Ben Napper, a great bit of business from him again to get that much money. I think he actually got more than what we paid for Forson. So when you put that into perspective, it's not exactly too bad. I believe we've negotiated a sell-on clause in that as well, if Kamara is to be sold for a profit by Hull. But who knows what will happen with him and how he cracks on. And then, of course, Jonathan Rowe got his move away. Deadline day was arguably a little bit of a quiet one, but then busy at the same time. A lot of academy signings that Will touched on a bit in the live stream yesterday. And I'm sure, well, if you want to, you can touch on a little bit more now, go a bit more into further detail. But in terms of first team incomings, the lone arrival of Kay Gordon from Liverpool looks promising. Torup says he's a bit more of a dribbler and a technical player on the right-hand side, so we could see him be preferred over Cianats, who's mainly started as a winger and maybe hasn't kicked on as well as people would have hoped for him to start straight away. But it's a brand new league and a new country for him. It's going to take time for him to eventually play his part in the system and be very effective in it. And then as well, bringing in Anis Slimane, or as Jack called him in our group chat, what was it? Anus Slimline, something like that, or whatever it was. But yeah, he looked class. As I said in the live stream yesterday, based off what I saw, I know he only played 50 minutes and what have you, but based off what I saw, how on earth was this man not getting in a team that got 16 points? Because he was mustard, Coleman's mustard. He was absolutely brilliant. He was unbelievable, I thought. But well, all three of you, well, Will, we of course, we sort of touched on it yesterday afternoon, but Jack and Henry, really, what did you make of our sort of deadline day incomings and the fact that Kamara finally got that move away? And what do you, really, now that we're in the month of September and deadline day has been and gone, what do you think of that?
Once again, Freddie, I'm gonna have to raise a glass to Ben Napper. It is empty, I'm afraid, but get your plant out, Jack. Get it out, because how he's bagged £4.5 million for Abu Kamara, I do not know. You know, this is someone who had a really good season on loan at League One level with Portsmouth, helped them romp to the League One title, but has never really been given that opportunity to play in the Championship. Obviously, he's going to have that now with Hull City. But for us to get £4.5 million out of him and a sell-on clause is an absolutely ludicrous bit of business. So once again, fair play to Mr. Napper. He's a smooth operator. So you've got that.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Oh, that might have to be the title. Oh, brilliant. Oh, I bloody love this channel. I love
Should
this
we go
channel.
karaoke later?
Oh, God.
I went last night.
MFW karaoke sessions. This is what the people need.
Exactly. May not be what they want, but they need it in their lives. No one asked for it, but they needed it. Exactly. But anyway, Jack, you got any song sort of analogies to add to that about our mate Napper?
No. No. I think Yeah, deadline days are always quiet, and as we've alluded to before, they're usually terrible, and we usually make terrible decisions, like swapping Bradley Johnson for Matt Jarvis, and signing Danny Barth to replace Andrew Omobamidele. Our brains tend to go out the window as soon as the window goes to close. Just chuck it just as it's closing. I still look at the squad. I still think it's just quite thin. Maybe that's me being really overly critical. The one thing I can't quite get my head around is the backup striker acquisition. We obviously signed Cernats, who was regarded as the Ida replacement, but he's playing out wide. That's fine. Obviously, we've got Ken Abbo on the bench. Oh no, we don't. He's gone to our beloved Stevenage. It's fine. We've got Hernandez on the bench, who can play striker, who's never played striker in his entire career. Is that just me that's like a little bit kind of confused and worried as to the fact that it's just Josh on his own and he's a bit fragile? I would have just liked an out striker just on loan, just to sit on the bench, just to, be that replacement. Obviously, like, you could put Cernats on the bench, that's fine, but seemingly we also want him to start on the right wing. So you could have signed another right winger. We obviously signed Gordon, but he was more of a Kamara replacement. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but I fear there will come a point in the season where one of the forwards will get injured, and we're panicking a little bit. Obviously, like, Forsyth coming into the team, he looks like a good option at right wing. Didn't see that coming, but there we are. I think Hernandez did okay against Crystal Palace, but he's just not at this level, and he's definitely not a striker. Sorry if that's a really controversial take. Please don't make a TikTok about me, Onel. You're not a striker, mate. Sorry. Just as much as I'm not a champion jockey. It's okay. It's okay not to, be good at your job or a job that you're told to do. But no, I think on paper, this whole window is very promising. And I think we will look back on it sort of in the short term with a lot of kind of pride in terms of how Napa and Torup have handled all of the kind of weirdness and the chaos and the unexpected toxicity. But ultimately, it's your football cliche of football not being played on paper. It's played on grass. And it could turn out that all of these sort of young signings with sort of Danish influences may just not be, might not cut the mustard. So far, they look very, very good from what I've seen. I really like, how do you pronounce it? Schwartau. We'll call him that. I really liked him. He looks like an absolute beast. And if he can play up front, then maybe that's the magical striker solution. But yeah, I don't know. It was a chaotic window. We actually spent money, which is always good fun. But yeah, I think January will be interesting, just in terms of what injuries we get from now until then. We can't expect this entire squad to stay fit until then. When I saw Forson go down at Palace, my heart sort of crumbled a little bit. But he's fine. His shoulder's fine. We will see. But who knows? Who knows? But on paper, it's good.
To bounce off your point, Jack, you made about Cernats, I think it does have the feel of Josh Sargent, and even to an extent Adam Eder, in that in that season under Dean Smith and David Wagner, where they were trying to do everything to shoehorn the pair of them into the side whilst having Timu Pukki as the lone striker. I just worried that for Cianach now it's exactly the same position. They want him to play, they want him to develop and get used to English football by giving him minutes, but obviously they cannot drop Josh Sargent. So I think it's the same, but I think for the best possible fit for the team, he should probably be on the bench, and then why not have someone like Gordon supporting Borja on the flanks. I think that'll probably be the best way Norwich could set up, and then Cianach down the middle could be a complete game changer, like how Josh was when they moved him down the middle. So hopefully he is the Alameda replacement, and he is the one who they look to play as that striker coming off the bench. And I hope this has just sort of been a stopgap whilst they're figuring out who their actual players will be come the 1st of September. So I hope to see him coming off the bench actually in the number 9 position going forward. But what I will say, the last time we had a striker sort of similar sounding to Cianach was Sir Benny, and we all know that yes, whilst he wasn't the best, he was an icon. So hopefully Cianach can turn into the icon.
Yeah.
And he scored more Premier League goals than Messi, so can't fault that.
This is
I
true.
mean,
No.
And Pele.
Yeah, and Pele, yeah, and Maradona. Yeah, it is a fun fact for you. I've scored more goals at Carrow Road than Sir Benny has, or did rather. A bit of a rogue one, but I'll take it any day of the week. But anyway, enough about Dennis Sir Benny. God, it's amazing, really, how he peers his name into this. But no, yeah, the icon doing icon things, really. But moving on a little bit, going on to, of course, there were some loan players who went out on loan. Jack, you touched on Ken Abbo going to our beloved, we'll call him Stevenage, as you said as well. And then you also had Lewis Shipley go to Cheltenham. Dan Barden got a move away to Swindon on loan. So hopefully that can continue their development, and hopefully it will do well for them. And maybe this time next season they could be around a Norwich team. Maybe, of course, that's very dependent on how Norwich end up and how well they do in loan spells. Of course, they've probably got to do phenomenally well to end up playing for Norwich. Well, even just being in an academy and trying to get in a first team's hard enough, let alone having to go out on loan and prove yourself to then even give yourself another chance. But it's always good to see the youngsters go out on loan and get their experience, especially Ken Abbo. Hopefully he absolutely smashes it with Stevenage in League One. Of course, there was talks of him maybe going to Notts County in League Two, so he's got a higher up move, albeit they don't have Steve Evans anymore as manager, who really did very well with that Stevenage side to get them around the League One playoffs. But hopefully he can crack on there and have a half-decent season, a bit like Kamara did. Just hopefully he doesn't decide he doesn't want to play for us in the season and he wants to go away to Humberside, where he can sit on a lovely beach in overcast skies for the rest of his career. But no, that is very good to see. But as we spoke on about, Josh Sargent is, albeit he is Norwich's only striker, really, he's still here, which I think is arguably the best bit of business Norwich have done all summer, is keeping Josh Sargent. There was a lot of talk of him going away. There was even a bid put in from St. Louis in the MLS, the very state that Josh Sargent is from. So he could have easily gone back home and spent his time with all of his family back there and taken his wife and kids back to America and just let them grow up in where they're originally from. But I believe the bid was $22 million, which was less than what Norwich wanted. So he's still here and brilliant. Thought again, of course, such an important player for Norwich, just his goal scoring capabilities, his hold up play, just showcased that yesterday. A lot of really good hold up play with his back up against the defender and just held it up, was able to lay it off, played a really good game. Even when he's not scoring goals for Norwich, he can be very effective. So it's brilliant the fact that he is still here, at least until January. So he may go then, but we'll cross our fingers we keep him for another full season. But no, really good that Sargent is still here. Norwich maybe do need a bit more backup, and as you said, Jack, that maybe is the sort of what Norwich, they do have a bit of a thin squad. There's no denying that. But of course, it was interesting because just looking at the bench from yesterday, like before the game, just looking at it, I was just thinking, looking at all the players, just if we're a goal down and someone needs to make an impact, I can't really see many big names there that I think, right, well, you'll bring him on because you know he'll do something. But I'm more than happy to be proved wrong by any of them. I mean, Slimane proved that within the first 10 minutes of coming on. They were both absolutely phenomenal. It helps that they play together at Bromby. They've got a natural understanding of one another, and that will be massive for Norwich going forward when they do play together in midfield. So it's almost like the master and the apprentice playing together in midfield. Although Slimane, albeit he's only 23, but Svartau is 18. You know, I'm almost 4 years older than the kid, and here I am sat talking with him with a bunch of other Norwich fans. It's crazy when a young player like that comes into your team. But anyhow, before that dog goes absolutely mental again, clearly he loves Svartau just as much as we are at the minute, with him raving about him. But I'll move on quickly before it goes a bit too nuts. Oh bloody hell, this is ridiculous. But anyway, no. Going on, just talking about Sargent and Sainz, they're the only two. They're the only two players who have scored for Norwich this season. Norwich have scored 4 goals in the Championship. Sainz and Sargent have 2 each. But when you take them out of the team, well, even when you look at the Palace game, Sainz only played about 10 minutes. But you look at the two, if you take them out of the team, there still is the point of, well, where do Norwich's goals come from? Because without them, Norwich wouldn't have scored a goal in the Championship yet this season. It is a big worry maybe as to if one does get injured, what happens? Who's going to score the goals for Norwich? But who knows? What do you still all think that really still is a cause for concern? Or do you think someone will maybe start popping up with the goals? Maybe that could be something which Torup addresses over the international break, and he tries to coach his midfielders to be a bit more attacking and pop up in areas where they can score goals. But what do you still think that it's a big worry for Norwich that only 2 players have scored for them in this season so far, albeit it's only 4 games in?
I think all of the midfielders will come good. I think at the minute, looking at Norwich's squad, like, not being harsh on Liam Gibbs, but he's the only midfielder who you're looking at and thinking, okay, he doesn't really add anything to the mix, whether that's goal scoring, whether that's defensive play or whatever. I think all of the rest of the midfield, Schwartau, Nunes, McLean, Forson, can all be more than worthy of chipping in with goals and be solid in a Norwich City shirt, especially Slimane as well from that defensive viewpoint. But I think as well, if we get set pieces right, then Shane Duffy might actually be a threat in front of goal. He's had, you know, the odd 2 or 3 chances from headers from corners the past 2 or 3 games. So yeah, as long as we can find him out in space aerially, that might actually be one to look out for as well. But I think the goals are coming, but I think it just goes back to what I said at the start of the season, and expecting Borja Sainz to be the player of the season. This season is the making of him, and I think this season is the one where he really kicks on and he drags Norwich City up the Championship table.
I think for me, personally, I do think it's a concern that Sargent and Sainz are probably our 2 most likely goal scorers. I think ideally you want more, but I don't get the impression from Torup and Napa that they are too worried about it. I think personally they think quite highly of Forson, Schwartau, etc., and that is for me is what is reassuring me, because there's been so much case studies across the summer where I've been unsure about something like coming to the building, but like it's still been kind of showcased in positive glimpses. And for me, like, listen to all of you guys back there, I do agree about the squad, and it might be considered quite restricted, and there isn't too much depth there. But I think the reason why that is because to try and get the pathway kicking again, as 2 motorbikes go by my house as well. So yeah, no, I just think it's more a general point about why the squad is so thin. I think they think very highly of academy talent, and they want to try and bridge that path with them. We've seen with the Scythe anyway as well. But I totally understand from a fan who doesn't like follow the youth setups and stuff like that, that it might look worrying. But I think for me, it's actually really healthy to have a pathway like that. And I think there's plenty of opportunities for Elliot Miles, Gabe Forsyth to get on the bench, everything like that. So for me, I think they're actually quite content with the squad right now, and the different profiles in there, and obviously Sargent as well. But I do agree with Jack what you said earlier as well. Like that striker department, it is quite thin. And I said throughout pre-season, so I worried about Sargent's injury record, and like it's quite notorious as well. So it's a huge risk, I think, from Norwich, especially in such an important area of the pitch as well. But then again, like, how do you convince a striker to come here when they're going to be second choice all season and play a few Carabao Cup games as well? So it's a very difficult act to follow, and maybe Napa and Forup didn't see the point of spending a few £1 million on a backup striker when now they wanted to try and prioritise other signings for the future, etc., which we've seen in the last few days with the academy signings coming.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of goals, you look at two of the highest goal scorers for the team last season in Gabby Sarah and Jonathan Rowe. You'd argue those two players have been replaced, but they're kind of not really replaced with the same style of player. We kind of replaced Sarah with Forson, who is not kind of a... At the moment, he doesn't seem like set piece gifted, and he's obviously not at the same quality of Gabby Sarah. So you're going to have a deficit in goals and chances created there. And we kind of replaced Rowe with no one, really. We sort of replaced Ida with Cernats. You'd argue probably Schwarzer was Rowe's replacement, but again, like there's no like clear replacement for those two players who under Wagner got us lots and lots of goals. I guess a lot of kind of what we're going to expect this season will be about the style of play and about how the team fits into a system rather than relying on individuals. One would hope that. I've got an outrageous hot take for this season. I think one person who will get more than 5 goals this season, right, is Jack Stacey, I think, because the way that I've seen him play in pretty much every match so far is that he seems to be basically playing on the right wing. He is so far forward, and he had a chance. Actually, I think he had a couple of chances against Coventry and fluffed them both. I swear he had a chance in another game. It might have been against Oxford.
Yeah, it was against Oxford. He had our best chance of the game in that match as well.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know if the sort of tactic on the ball is more of a, like, I don't know, 3-3-4. Freddie, you play Football Manager. I don't understand all this sort of magical numbers nonsense. But yeah, Stacey seems to be getting in the box a lot. Obviously, he's not a natural gifted finisher, but statistically, the amount of times he's getting in the box, one of them's got to go in, and I think he'll score 5 goals this season. You can prove me wrong. He scored 1 last season. I think it was against Stoke.
On his birthday as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
But no, I think he will. That's obviously not a huge contribution to our goals, but I think that, quote me on that. I might be completely wrong, and he might score none. Yeah, goal scoring will be fine. We'll be fine. We'll just like Kenny will get like 20. It will be a Yaya Toure season for him, where it just turns out that he can score penalties and free kicks from 50 yards.
No, I certainly wouldn't mind it. Well, actually, you'd say he scored penalties. I think every penalty he's taken for Norwich, he's missed. So that's about scoring penalties might be a little bit. I think that's a bit ambitious for Kenny McLean. But
in terms of penalty practice as well, in terms of penalty practice, they just need to get Hope Strauss to get them to teach the Norwich men's penalties. Because Hope Strauss for the women's team, bear in mind she's a centre back. She's taken 6 penalties and scored all 6.
Wow.
Duffy, if you're listening, mate, like
Exactly. Have a word with Hope Strauss. Get her to teach you how to take a penalty because she never misses.
Nah, wouldn't mind it. Yeah, get that integration in training, Neil. Get them all together and get them taking penalties. That would be lovely to see. But sort of one last sort of point before we get on to the quick fire hot takes from Jack in our weekly bit of nonsense and good fun. But just one last question I sort of wanted to pose to all three of you. Do you think that game was the most fun game to watch and genuinely enjoyable to sit back and just be a part of since the tenure of Daniel Farke? Because I think it is. I think that game showcased, just was brilliant. It was so good, and it was really fun. It just to control a game and have that much possession, albeit we didn't have that many chances, and Coventry were, in terms of attacking wise, probably the better side. But just controlling a game, nullifying threat, and just playing out of opposition press so well and with such confidence. I was purring pretty much the whole game with the person I was watching it with. I was just talking to him and saying, like, best I've seen us play for ages, defensively so good. But do you think that was, a lot of fans are saying it as well, but do you think that was one of the most fun games and enjoyable watches we've had since Daniel Farke left? Because we have been subject to some really turgid football over the last few years.
I think it's one of them, like you said, but I think in terms of the Wagner ball, I think whilst on the whole it wasn't the best football, we did produce some good results. And like you've just said, Freddie, the criteria of what made yesterday so special, the Ipswich game at Carrow Road ticked all of those boxes. You know, the fact that we nullified Kiefer Moore, we nullified all of their attacking threat, and then they went on to obviously produce promotions to the Premier League. It just shows how well we played that day. Ipswich were second best to everything, and we were just fantastic. So I think there were a few games in the David Wagner era that ticked that, but yesterday was just absolutely special, and it was nice. I know it's always a cliche, but it was nice having our club back, so to speak, and putting in performances like that we all know Norwich could and should do every week.
Yeah, I agree with Henry, but what I also liked about yesterday as well is there was some proper gamesmanship going on as well. As I said to Freddie during the last game, when Sargent went down on the 80th minute mark, he's about to get straight back up. Then Kenny McLean just go, no, just stay down. It was proper gamesmanship. And if you are a football purist, I'm sure you loved seeing that 1-0 win, especially when Doyle and Duffy were absolute rocks at the back. So I'm very happy. Very happy with that. With the way we played and the way that we were moving the ball as well. We just look so controlled, and I think that's definitely why you love football. And yeah, I just love seeing a team that is just so in control of the ball and knows their plan. I don't think Coventry did too much to try and stop us from doing our sensational build-up play, but when we get it right, it looks like an absolute joy to watch. So hopefully we get more of the same.
Yeah, just before I go on to answering your question, Henry, you get a yellow card. We don't mention those lot down the road. Second yellow and you're off. This is a Norwich zone only.
To be fair, I wasn't being positive about them. Maybe I was in the first 5 minutes in the women's chat, but there, Ipswich were awful.
Oh, actually, yeah, that's your second yellow. You're off. Bye, Henry. Bye. No, don't leave.
Has you got a 1 game ban as well for that?
Oh, it's a 3-game ban. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Henry.
But it's a serious foul play, isn't it?
I don't think that was dangerous play. That could only be a 1 match.
It's only a 1, mate.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go.
No, two yellows is a 1 game ban. 2 yellows is 1 game ban.
Oh, 1 game. All right. All right. No. You're banned for the next podcast.
Funnily enough, yeah. I don't think I can actually make the next podcast. So that'd be good, wouldn't it?
There we go. Perfect. What was I saying? Wasn't that the best result since Farke? No, that's a diabolical statement from you, Freddie. Are you saying that you haven't enjoyed football since November 2022? Like, what? I mean, obviously, like, it's probably the best that we've played. And, you know, the style of football is very nice. But there were lots of games under Wagner Ball last season that I really liked. There were even some games under Dean Smith that I liked. I really liked that win against Everton. I really liked that win away at Watford with the scorpion kick. That's about it. That's all I've got. Ultimately, it is, like we've been saying earlier, the way it's been building and the way we've been slowly improving and the way that kind of this is ultimately the precipice now. Clean sheet, which we hadn't got all season and we'd been struggling to get. Actually, you know, decent passages of play. Now what we need is just lots of actual chances being created. There was very few clear-cut opportunities where the Coventry goalkeeper was actually properly tested. Once we get to that stage, like most Norwich Championship seasons, there are going to be 2 or 3 results where we just turn up and beat a team by 5 or 6 or 7. That's not to say that that'll happen next week. It'll probably happen in and around Christmas or, like, you know, around March when we kind of typically hit our stride. But no, I think it's positive signs. Get it? Signs? Signs? Bohasa. No, well, yes, fine, move on.
Yeah, get your coat. Get your bucket hat and your shirt. Off you go.
That's a yellow card as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's a yellow card. Yeah, there you go. No, well, we need him back. No, guys, actually, guys. Oh dear. Oh dearie me. Well, anyway, we need you back, Jack. Now because we've got some quick fire hot takes to have to worry about to sort of to get us near enough to signing off for this week. So Jack, what you got up in your locker? You got 5 questions for us, I believe, as you've sort of gone with less now as the season has begun. But what have you got for us this time around? I mean, we've been chatting nonsense pretty much the whole hour. But what else have you got for us to sign it off in true nonsense?
I'm really warm. This is a regret. All right. Question 1 for you. Prime Adam Drury or prime Martin Olsen?
Prime Drury.
Prime Drury.
Prime Martin Olsen.
It's a stinker from you.
I never watched Drury.
A lifetime contract for Onel or a statue for Grant Hanley?
Statue for Hanley.
Statue for the big dog.
Lifetime contract of Onel.
Improve the pies or expand the Jeffrey Watling?
Expand the Jeffrey Watling for me.
Neither. Improve the sausage rolls. In the river end, they are shocking.
Will, what was yours? Pies?
Yeah, improve the pies, mate.
Pies. All right, I know where your heart is at. Who is objectively the worst Norwich goalkeeper of all time?
Where do you start?
It's got to be that Theo. I can't say his name. Theo Kiltis, is it?
Theoklitos.
That's the one. Yes.
I'll go with Lee Camp.
I'll go with Carlo Nash.
Oh, leave him be. He didn't even play. Don't be mean to poor Carlo. And the final one, it might be a bit of a long one, but I'll make it quick fire. What is your dream Norwich 5-a-side? Freddie, you start.
Oh, wow. Ruddy in goal. I'll play 2 defenders. I will go with Christoph Zimmerman and Ben Godfrey. I'll play 1 midfielder and I'll go with Emi Buendia. And then I will go with, you know what? I'll go with Simeon Jackson up front.
I'm going for...
Oh, Henry, go.
I'm going for Krul in goal, Bassong and Grant Hanley at centre back. Emi Buendia in midfield, and Grant Holt and Timu Pukki. That's 5.
No, that's 6. That's too
All
many.
Right. Take Grant Holt out.
Yeah, Will.
Yeah, so for me, I'll go for Mark Bunn, Josh Hoyveld, and I'll go with a bit of Marcel Franca to top it off as well. And then my kind of like Roman cam is Tony Andreu. And then the main man up top is the absolute Voldemort himself, Steve Morrison.
I thought you were going to say, rather than roaming man, I thought you were going to say Roman Kemp. I was like, we'll just watch Roman Kemp in there.
It's not soccer, is it?
Tell you what, well, that's a team you must love, Jack. That's an NCFC pain five-a-side if I ever saw one. It's a good mix, a good mix of players there from Will. But anyway, that's your lot. Just before I sign off, as I usually do, I've got one last message. One to Mark Robbins. Oh, have that, Sakamoto. See you later, mate. Off your pot on the injury bed. No, good fun. But anyway, there's your lot. There's been your news, catch up, and your nonsense, and a lot of it this week. And it was good fun. It was really good fun. We hope you've enjoyed the latest episode of the My Football Writer podcast, whether you've been watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify. We thank you very much for it. We hope to see you for not only the next podcast, but the next video of ours on the channel. It's goodbye for now. I've been Freddie Humphrey Wakefield. They have been the excellent, as always, Will Grant, Jack Wright, and Henry Miller. It's goodbye for now, and we will see you all for the next one.